Can your Tesla do that? I don't think so. Now, before we go and test drive this car, I'd like to introduce you a little bit about this exterior design. This is the last generation Ferrari that's designed by Pininfarina. And if you don't know what Pininfarina is a Italy-based car manufacturer. Well, not car manufacturer to be exactly. It's a car design firm that's specially designed in any sort of Ferraris, Maseratis, Alfa Romeos, and also designed Lancia. So you'll see it's quite a CV for any sort of automotive designing industry or design firm. So without further ado, this is a 2016 Ferrari F12 Berlinetta, which equipped it with a 6.3-liter naturally aspirated engine, produced 730 horsepower, 580 pound-feet of torque. So that's all numbers. And with that out of the way, let's take a detailed look of this specific Ferrari and what the owner has done to this car to make it look so aggressive and so beautiful and elegant. Now first, I have to address the elephant in the room and take a look at this set of wheels and tires. This is a set of wheels that produced by Vosen. I think it's Vosen F1 or V1 or some sort. This is a set of forged magnesium wheels. Magnesium wheels is much more lighter and much more corrosion resistant, much more rust resistant. And overall, it's a very high quality look. I like the owner choose the light gray color with this bright shining silver wheels. And this is a stagger setup, of course. The front is 21 inch, the rear is 22 inch. And I believe the front is 255/30 some sort, and the rear is 335/25. So they're massive and low profile tires. And the tires, of course, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, which I think it's very serious for. I think it's a great choice for any sort of serious performance cars. And yeah, with that out of the way, of course, we have the brakes and caliper setup. It's standard equipped with a carbon ceramic brakes, and the front is a 6-piston, and the rear, of course, is a 4-piston. And they're massive when it comes to braking power and all that. With the 731 horsepower, you definitely need a brake to stop this beast. And let's look at the other elements that the owner has added on this car, which is carbon fiber. Shitloads of carbon fiber, of course. As you can see, the front, the weave is different. This is not your standard carbon fiber weaves. These are forged carbon fiber from the splitter, and of course the front diffuser as well. And the owner also added a side skirt for carbon fiber, and the rear spoiler for the carbon fiber as well. This little ducklet, I think it looks fantastic. To add it a little bit tail, sort of lifting up the tail just a little bit. And of course, this functional rear diffuser is all forged carbon fiber, and these things are quite expensive. Let's look at this front fascia. I think when Pininfarina and Ferrari decided to work on a car, they must make the car looks elegant and beautiful and Ferrari-like, but at the same time, it's a performance-oriented vehicle. It's a performance-oriented company. So Ferrari has to make this car not only fast, not only looks aggressive, but also very functional. So every lines in the F12 are served for one purpose, that is aerodynamic. Let's take a look at this opening. This opening here, for a lot of people think the opening on the bonnet is of course for heat dissipation or for heat destruction and things like that. But no, this is actually for downforce. You see, air goes in through here and come out through here. With the speed increases, the airflow will increase, the pressure will increase, so they will put the car on the ground with the air pushing the car down. And these two lines, these two very subtle and beautiful soft lines on the side of the car will combine with this buttress, which is halo. You can see the ground there with this halo. They will channel the air down to the side of the car and use the side curves to channel the air go up towards the back. And on the back there is another opening. This opening is for heat dissipation, of course. It's for the brake heat dissipation. So when the brake gets hot, the hot air goes through here, and all of the cold air, the fast cold air, go from the side of the door, goes here, and take this hot air and combine with this dark spoiler and take the air out of the car and add even more air pressure to make sure the rear of the car sticks to the ground. Those are such elegant and such brilliant design for a sports car, so you can just go fast and the air would do the work. When the old people design these cars, when the old car manufacturers designing these cars, they always have the performance in mind, not only to make the car look beautiful, but at the same time they're playing with the natural elements, they're playing with the air, they're playing with the physics to make sure that the car and the curves and the design work with the environment to make sure the car performs at its best. And a lot of people know that Ferrari F12 has this ducts on each side. This opening cutout here will open when car reaches certain speed, when the ECU detects that the brakes are overheated or a little bit hard. So they will open this up, allowing more air into the brake dust to cooling the brake. And this is not just plastic. This is actually metal. It's very high quality to the touch. They have one of these on both sides without sacrificing any sort of aerodynamics or the downforce. They open this up from the side and channel the air into the brake dust to make sure the brake stays cool and maximum performance. That's just beautiful. I've been shooting this car for like 1 or 2 days, and every time I started talking about this car, I just don't know where to start, because everything on this car is just so elegant. Every design on this car is just so beautiful. I just want to, sit back and just look at this car and see how elegant it is. Everything sort of makes sense. There are no extra lines in this car. There are no extra sort of designing elements. It's not for the performance, not for the downforce, not for the aerodynamics for this car. And the owner added this wider side skirt will help the air from the side of the wheel and channel the air up and crossing the wheels, and added a little even more aerodynamic to the car. And I just love it. Now let's open the hood and see what's underneath the hood. As a classic Italian cars, the prop shaft, the hydraulic prop shaft has broken, so I have to hold the hood with one hand and talk to you with another hand. Well, as you can see, the aerodynamic kit and the vent cutout is not from the outside of the car, but also inside of the car. All of those ducts, those openings, those cutouts is for tires and heat from the brakes to dissipate faster and go out from the buttresses as well. So that's some of the clever and attention to detail sort of design. And you can see most of the engine is behind the front wheel, makes it a front mid-engine layout. As I drive this car, I definitely feel that this is a mid-engine car. All of the weight is around that area, but not here. The nose is super light, and you can see this cutout opening here is for the air inside of the engine bay to dissipate faster, but also flow with the airflow when you're driving faster. It's quite tired of holding this hood. This is actually quite heavy. I don't know. I'm probably going to ask the owner if he had the money to invest it into a carbon fiber hood to make the car even more elegant and lighter. And now, before we hit the road, let's take a look at the trunk of the car. So you can see as the boot opened up, it's actually a hatchback design. This is sort of not like your standard saloon car. The opening is actually quite large, and luckily the prop shaft didn't break, so I don't have to use my hand to hold it up. And the storage space is actually quite spacious. The owner has a little chair here for cars and coffee, and I have all of my shooting equipment here. When I moved it out, it's actually quite spacious, and you can also remove this lid, so you can have a little bit of height when it comes to storage and put a lot of stuff in it. It's a grand tour, so it's designed with the space, storage space in mind. I'd say as a Ferrari, this is the biggest trunk I've ever seen from the Ferrari, despite the FUV from the new Ferrari lineup. That's a more utilitarian car. And you also have a little plank here. This is also a storage space for your golf clubs and all the other mixed stuff that you can put on it, and also connect it to the cabin, so you can just reach out, with your hand, with your head turn around, you can get a lot of stuff from the back, which is quite nice. So yeah, let's go drive this Ferrari though. Now I'm outside of the parking garage. Let's talk about this interior. First is this steering wheel. It's very famous for any sort of Ferraris. You have your shifting lights, which will at the moment I'll start it up and you guys will see the shifting lights. And you have your huge Ferrari logo here and turn signal on both sides. And you have your start-stop engine. This is the only common stuff that Alfa Romeo has shared with the Ferrari. Everything else is different. Everything else is, it's Ferrari is a Ferrari. Alfa Romeo is Alfa Romeo. There's nothing quite similar. And I found it really hard to drive a Ferrari using only one hand because I have to shift my gears, and it's column mounted like all of the other Ferraris and Maseratis and Alfa Romeos. This is not followed with the steering wheel. It's column mounted on the steering column, which is the proper way of mounting your shift pedals and things like that. And it's quite short. It's not as long as my Alfa Romeo. My Alfa Romeo is about this long, but this one is just right here. It's the proper way of shifting your car because your hands is gripped right here all the time, so you only need to use 4 fingers to do shift, and they don't allow you to shift with your hands right here. It's for perhaps safety reasons and things like that. You got your start-stop button, you got your high beams button, you got your windshield wiper button, turn signal, and all of your modes. It has the wet mode, which is for winter and for ring and things like that, and then straight to sport and race, and traction control off, and the ESC off. ESC off does not stay. ESC off, you have to hold it for a while until the car beeps, which I'll give you guys a demonstration later when I start up the car. This is the button where I tell my friends this is "Are you ready?" button, because it turns off basically everything electronically controlled with this car. ECU will just go rest and everything is on your own. With the 700 horsepower underneath the bonnet, you have to make sure that you have the balls and the skills to handle this car with the ESC off. I normally don't do that. I didn't even, using these 3 modes while I was driving this car because someone else's car is quite expensive, and I treat car better than I treat my women. Well, that's a fact. Don't tell my girlfriend about that. So yeah, and we moved towards here. Here is your air conditioning unit. It's quite simple, but at the same time, it looks quite complicated. You have a dual zone air conditioning, but I found it quite rather useless. Well, it's Italian. I don't know why they have the dual zone, because the cabin is actually quite small. One air conditioning unit would definitely, fits for all of them. And this huge air conditioning sort of vent, it's sort of like the vent from the airport. It's huge and you can move it 360 degree, blow it right to your chin, blow it to your forehead and everywhere. It's quite nice. It's solid metal. This is not plastic. It's metal. Carbon fiber, leather. There's nothing. It's plasticky in there. Even this one. This is metal. This is not plastic. And you have your reverse. Well, since we're done here, you have your reverse, your automatic mode, and your launch mode. I'd never try launch mode on this. I will never try the launch mode on someone else's car because it's so disrespectful. You have your window control right here. So when the first time I get into this car, I was trying to find the window control right here, but this is just a door handle for you to open your door and close the door. Down here, you have 2 buttons for opening your boot and opening your fuel gate. Of course, you have a button to open the fuel gate in case someone is stealing your fuel, I guess. So that's basically about this interior. And also for the design of this whole thing, you have the Berlinetta there. writes down there on beautiful leather, and those things are metal as well. I can't touch them, but they're metal. They're not plastic. Everything in this car, so far is very high quality, and you have a metal plaque right here for the passenger to hold on to their life when you're driving fast. The A12 Superfast and the F12 TDF, I think they have an extra option where you can option for a screen here for your passenger to take a look at your speed, at your G-forces, and all of those, numbers and specs for your passengers to engage into this driving experience. And up here you have this sun visor. It's all Alcantara. It's metal and metal on metal. Even this part is metal. This is not plastic. It's just so high quality with all of those parts. And you don't have a dressing mirror here because you're driving a Ferrari. You don't care what you look like. No one cares if you drive a Ferrari. On this side, you do have a mirror, but this mirror is very small and very low quality mirror, I'd say. It's like a plasticky kind of reflection panel. It's not seriously an actual mirror here. I don't think it's even glass. I think it's just polyester or something. I have no idea. Yeah, and that's basically that. And you have a roof, and this roof is actually quite high because it's designed for you to drive this car with a helmet on. So the roof is quite high, so I'll have a lot of space on my head. I can wear a helmet and drive it. The seats as well. The seat holds your back pretty good, and this part is moved a little bit to the rear, so you can have the helmet while you're driving the car, and it leaves the space for that, which is quite clever, and it's actually, I think it's functional and proper. Move down here, you have a little storage space here, so you can, store some of the important stuff. And the funny thing about this thing is you can actually move this headrest, or you can actually move this armrest here. I don't know why, Ferrari designed to move this thing. I mean, I can hold like this, and you can also do it like this. It's gimmicky, and I don't know why. And you have a lot of vents, net down here, so you can store something. But, if you're too high, this net will be rendered useless. Yeah, and that's basically it about this interior. There's nothing so special about it. And, without further ado, let's just start up the car. You take the key, and you stick it into the hole. You turn the key, so the fuel pump, all of the electronic stuff starts working. And of course, the check engine light will come out shortly after because the exhaust on this car has been modified. I believe the engine code is P430 or P420. These are for catalytic converter failure or the O2 sensor failure and things like that. It's nothing really matters. And you stick the key. Okay, we've already done that. And all the electricity comes on. The fuel pump is right, and you have your performance pages and things like that. All of that is ready. Put your foot on a brake and use this button to wake up this beast. What a glorified noise. See, the check engine light comes on. I'll probably deal with that later. Let's start with this manual screen. So in here you can see lots of your performance pages, including your lap times and things like that. It's a TFT screen on both sides. I'll talk about this side a little bit later. And on this side is mainly for performance. If you dial in through different modes like I'm doing right here, now you're in the wet mode as it shows, and now you're in sports mode, race mode, traction control off mode. It's becoming red, and you hold it, and then it says ESC off, and the ESC off lights toggle will definitely on. It means everything is to the tensest position. I don't do that. I'll just put it back to sport for my life's sake. And yet I've also noticed something really fun. On this side is of course for this screen, and this screen is all driver centric. Of course, the driver should know, your speed, your mode and things like that, your VDA, the vehicle sort of, functionality and all that. And on this side is for controlling, the media and all of the infotainment system right here. You have your radio, media, navigation, phone, and settings. The funny thing is, this car does not have a Chinese pack, so everything is in English or in Italian. But the funny thing is, when I push radio, you see, that's Chinese character. I don't know why that's Chinese character. And if you come to the media, of course, there's another Chinese character. I don't know if some, Chinese import law says you have to have Chinese letters in your import cars. Otherwise, I don't know why it's part Chinese and part English. I have no idea. And on this part, you'll have your camera. This opens up the front camera. You have two cameras at the front to make sure, because it's quite a long nose, you can't see underneath the car. So you have two cameras, and then you'll have your back camera. And there's a beautiful animation here. It's like it's rolling from cameras. You know, this is front two cameras and your rear cameras. It's not just a blank jump cuts, but actually has a animation here, which is quite nice. It's quite odd from Italian to design things like that. And what I've discovered is, as a passenger, if you're sitting in a Ferrari, you have no control of anything except the air conditioning. You can control your air conditioning unit if you're a passenger here, but listen to what sounds, listen to what radio channels and everything is controlled by the driver. That means, you know, if I drive a Ferrari, I listen to whatever I like, and you don't have rights to filling everything in my car. I found that quite funny. And yeah, I missed this button. This is the opening for the glove box, because there are personal stuff in the glove box, so I won't show it fully opening. The glove box is made of metal as well. They're a little bit plastic right here, and it's all wrapped in beautiful Alcantaras. They can build a handle here, but instead they made a button here. I don't know why. For the elegance of, you know, special Italian design. And that's basically about this interior. Let's go drive this beast and tell you all about how it drives. But first, I know what you guys want. You guys want to hear this car. Let's go hear it. go, I got one thing to say. I've heard people saying that, you know, some girls love a guy because they love the guy who drives Ferrari single-handedly, like using one hand to drive a Ferrari. It's quite impossible to drive a Ferrari with one hand. Of course, you can use the automatic mode down here. You push auto and it'll be a normal automatic car. But that would be total waste of car. I think this F1 style dual clutch transmission developed by Ferrari is one of the best dual clutch I've ever tried. You know, before I drove this Ferrari, I was in the United States. I drove the single clutch F430 Scuderia. That is a race type F1 style single clutch. It's very cluster. It's very like, it's rumble, you know, it's rumbling while I was, you know, driving in the city. But this car, if you're driving it manually, if you're driving it with your knowledge of how to drive a manual car, this car just smooth like silk. So yeah, without further ado, let's go drive it. Put it into first gear and push the throttle. Well, this doesn't have an idle speed, so it won't go in first gear. So you have to push the throttle and disengage the clutch and engage the clutch, so it'll go. Just like that, like every other car. Now let's drive it. You know, I was filming this car yesterday. I was trying to do a road test yesterday, but because of this exhaust note, I've always, like almost all the time, I forget what am I saying, because I was paying too much attention to listen to this exhaust note. This exhaust note is basically shouting at me saying, "Rich is good. You know, money can't buy happiness." Is quite a bullshit. Money can buy happiness. It can buy a ridiculously amount of happiness. It can buy a V12 amount of happiness. It definitely can buy happiness. Driving a 700 horsepower, 731 horsepower F12, how does it feel like? It feels normal. It feels like I'm driving just a family saloon. There's nothing special about this car. It beats by, you know, you have a huge Ferrari badge in front of you every time you drive it. And the car sits quite low. It's very low to the ground, and the nose dives. You know, with this sitting position, I'm 172 centimeters, sometimes 173 if the weather is good. With my height, sitting here, look at the front of the car. I can't see the nose of the car because the design of the nose dives directly to the ground. So, you know, there are no obstacles in front of me. I can just use this car very nicely. And there is like the button I described, I introduced earlier. There are a camera system. You can call the camera in at any time and to see if you have any obstacles in front of you, which is quite handy. And driving this car at this low speed, I'm right now 2,000 RPM. It's just normal. It feels like a normal car, except that glorious V12 noise. And I'm in fourth gear, and if I can easily downshift and do a little pull, the speed, the power is sensation. Let's have a try. Third gear, second gear, 3,000 RPM, floor it, and it just pushes you back with that noise! What the fuck? If you're telling me right now that your Tesla is faster than this car, you can go shove your ass. You can go shut up and shove the Tesla right up your ass, because I don't care. This is the proper car. This is the proper sound. I've been pushed back many times. You know, I've driven 1,000 horsepower GTR while I was in the United States. I haven't experienced that for a very, very long time since I got back to China. And thanks to the owner of this car, allowed me to experience one more time and pump my adrenaline. I don't know how much, but I can do that all day. Oh, this is ridiculous. You know, I did a lot of cuts while I was shooting this film. While I was reviewing this film, I probably NG'd for like 1,000 times while I was sitting in this car and tried to do a driving review of this car. I haven't done reviews for quite a long time. I'm getting a little bit rusty, you know, on this part of the things. And every time I started the car, I started flooring it. I started listening to that sound. I always forgot what I'm about to say. You know, I was talking about one moment, I was talking about, you know, the driving, the quality of the road and how it feels, how to compensate with the suspension and all that. The other second, I was just completely lost in that sound. I was like, I don't want to talk anymore. I just want to sit there and drive this car endlessly to anywhere. I don't care. I just want to sit in this car and just push the throttle, fiddling with, you know, paddle shifters and stop this review immediately. That's how I feel about this car. You know, when you have a Ferrari, it's very objective to talk about how it feels, how it drives, how it, you know,
the driving characteristic of this car. I mean, it's very easy to drive unless you push that and release 731 horsepower. The factory claimed this car to 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. That means you will break any sort of laws, speed laws in China in under 3.1 seconds. That's ridiculous. The thing about these supercar, is that you don't have to use all of those powers, but I do have to have all of those powers because I am a Ferrari. I'm a supercar. I am a fundamental, a quintessential part of the supercar world. But you don't have to use that number all the time. Basically, if you're driving on the road, 200, 300 horsepower is vastly enough. It's very basic. It's enough for you to do your daily commute. But with 731 horsepower, you can definitely do that much quicker. As Jeremy Clarkson once said, you're buying a fast car not because you want to drive fast, because you want to pick up your kids faster from the school. And I think he got a point. I'd rather have 700 horsepower right under my control and I don't have to use all of them, and it's just so nice. And this reminds me of, this era of sports cars, this era of electronic cars, all of those Teslas and all of those, electric cars that runs on the road. They are fast, of course, but they're taking away the essential things of driving, the essential things of automotive industry. It's simple and easy. You plug the wires and you hit the throttle and the car just goes. And there are no control to say, like I said, the Tesla has a fake, heavy steering sort of tuning and things like that. It's all just artificial, but this is so dynamic, it's so mechanical. I feel all the bumps, I feel the steering wheel, I feel the exhaust, I feel the vibration, and all of those things combined together to give me a full experience of how a car should sound like, how a car should drive like. And this is definitely engineering marvel. Here comes the tunnel. I think I should roll down the window. Can your Tesla do that? I don't think so. Explains it all of why we love cars. It's because of those noise. It's because of those experience. It added up and gives you a very full experience of how engineering marvels and how automotive industry has evolved. The thing about那么影片的结尾我决定还是用中文跟大家交流吧，因为毕竟这个时候已经没有太多要去讲跟车有关的东西了。我也知道这一次的测评其实从昨天开始我就已经开始录制关于车的各种各样的一些细节啊，一些我觉得有意思的东西，毕竟这个就是在成都也好，或者在全国也好 F12 的保有量其实也并不多，而且这样子的车真的就是买一台市面上就少一台，撞一台全世界就少一台。其实到现在为止我也知道今天的这个测评，这一台车的这个测评其实并不全面，其实还有它的电磁悬挂部分，然后以及它的一些驾驶的一些细节处的感受，其实我都没有很详细的去描述到。其实我昨天在拍摄这个影片的时候，很多时候一脚油下去我都会忘记自己上一句讲的是什么，刚才在讲哪一个阶段的故事，或者在讲哪一个阶段的内容我都会忘记。这个可能就是我热爱汽车的一个原因吧。其实这个时候我还挺伤心，不仅是因为我得把车还给原来的车主首先我得必须在这儿非常非常感谢车主愿意把车子借给我，因为这并不是一台便宜的车子，这并不是一台所有人都能够就触手可及，什么努力就能够去买到的一台车子，所以我非常感谢车主对我的信任。但是这个片子实际上到现在为止并没有完全去满足我认为一个详细的测评应该给到的一些驾驶的感受。虽然说你们能够从我的表情上能够看到我驾驶这台车的时候那样的一种喜悦，那样一种溢于言表的一种喜悦但是此时此刻的我其实还是伤心的，不仅是因为我得把车子还给车主，回到我正常的生活当中，另外呢也更是在于我知道这样的车子将来不可能再出现在市面上了。 无论是兰博基尼、法拉利、阿斯顿马丁或者是玛莎拉蒂这样子的一些传统的车企，他们都逐渐的开始使用 hybrid， 也就是说混合动力的系统，甚至像莲花这样子的一种纯粹的驾驶机器的这样一些车企都已经开始出纯电的汽车。其实我对于纯电汽车没有任何偏见，我也没有任何歧视，因为我知道在科技的发展进程当中，在人类的科技发展进程当中，汽车永远都是一个工具。从最初梅赛德斯奔驰的第一台车代替了马车，到后来汽车发展到今天这个程度，到了 F12这样一种，就是我所理解的 peak。就是已经到达了一个顶峰，再到接下来特斯拉带着电车，带着 1.9 秒的特斯拉电车进入到市场当中。我知道燃油车终有一天会被淘汰，人类终有一天会继续的进化出更多更高科技、更便捷于人类的东西。它始终是一个工具，但是这样子的工具却有很大的一群人，你我这样子的，就是你在看影片的你一样，我们是一定热爱车的。你点进来看到 F12，并不是因为你想买这台车，而是你真的很想听一听，想看一看这一台街上并不常见的汽车，它到底驾驶起来或者听起来到底是一种什么样的感觉。然而让我觉得遗憾的是，将来当满街都跑满电车的时候，所有的车基本上就一样了，不会再有车说我的设计不一样，我的风力设计不一样，我的空力套件不一样，然而你的车就不一样，汽车就被驱动成为了电池，它所有的科技都变成了电控。然而像 F12 这样的车，像599、430，像大牛、小牛，像玛莎拉蒂GTS 这样子的车型， MC GTS 这样的车型，这样一种纯粹通过机械作为纽带来连接车与驾驶员，来连接车与地面，驾驶员与地面与自然的这样一种模式，逐渐的我认为它就会消失了。其实这对我来讲是一件非常让我伤心的事情，因为我们从最开始的汽车作为工具，再到后来赛车的科技不断的发达，我们有了我们的后视镜，我们有了我们的碟刹，我们有了我们的碳陶瓷刹车，我们有了我们的挡风玻璃，一切都是通过赛车这一项运动经过了反复次的测试，然后最后下放到民用车型当中来。所以对于普通很多老百姓来讲，他认为像法拉利这样子的车子，像兰博基尼这样的车子存在其实没有任何意义。而对我来讲，正是因为有了这些汽车的存在，这些超级跑车的存在，我们的科技，我们在汽车安全性上的升级，在汽车用材上的升级，才在不断的提升，我们的民用车才越来越安全。我觉得正是因为这些精神领袖的存在，才有了我们今天汽车工业的蓬勃发展。然而让我伤心的是，当我们已经发展到了一个高峰的时候，这些精神领袖就逐渐的开始被淘汰、被嫌弃，这些声音，这些美妙动听的排气声音，这些12缸、10缸，逐渐的就开始变成了污染环境。这个其实是让我非常非常伤心的。所以其实我对于爱车来讲，从来不会在于一个车的排量它有多大，从来不会在于这个车0到100它有多快，而是一种纯粹的驾驶的一种感受，一种纯粹的机械感的一种感受，一种纯粹的对于汽车工业匠心的这样一种感受和理解。所以今天这台车其实给我带来很多感悟，这也是我曾经一直在写稿想要去讲的一个内容。但是我觉得我身边的很多小伙伴在衡量汽车好与坏的时候，都是通过一些简单的数据，你比如说0-100然后0-4呀，或者说是像价格呀这样子一些我认为浮于表面的东西去评价一台车好与不好。所以我也很少跟朋友们或者小伙伴们提起这些东西。但是我觉得如果爱车，可能这个才是爱车的核心与根本。That concludes this whole episode of this F12 Berlinetta's review. And if you like this video, hit like. If you love this video, hit sub. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.